Hey, if this doesn't work, we could do it another night. You're already here.
We could do it another night. We hit you up right after vacation. That probably wasn't the smartest thing we ever did.
Well, we got a lot of shit going on, but it's okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, if you need to come in, I'll take care of it.
Oh, I'm not gonna. I mean, it'd be one thing if I had something to do, but I'm just gonna go in there and sit down.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm just sitting with my thoughts. I might as well share some of them.
Oh, sure. I thought you had something to do.
No. I have to take it easy and not lift anything. And
So somebody was asking me at work the other day, when are you actually back?
I don't know.
Is it like...
So how it goes, because they ended up like basically putting like so many different things back together in my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's literally a checkup by checkup basis. So like my physical therapist is one doctor one person that I mess with, and then she helps me go through, and she's like, okay, you're a little bit more flexible here. You need to work on stretching here. You need to work on your strength here. But I can only do anything with my arm whenever I'm there doing physical therapy. Mm-hmm. I'm not supposed to do any lifting. I'm not supposed to do any stretching other than what I have to do to function. But whenever I go to the doctor, he's like, he'll evaluate what I can do, and he's like, okay, still a restriction, or still restricted to everything. Listen to your physical therapist, and I'll see you in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And then so those appointments, every 6 week appointments, my doctor's like, oh, you're fine, or no, you're not.
Oh.
There's no,
Okay.
like, he's like, you're ahead of schedule, but you still can't lift anything. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Right.
So I go back in on the 28th, and he's going to be like, he's going to tell me how things are going.
Right.
And I would be very surprised if he doesn't at least go, oh yeah, light duty. Because I was already like a month and a half ahead of the healing process.
Right.
He was really surprised. He's like, you're really flexible, aren't you? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you recovered really well.
People at work were asking about it the other day. I was like, I don't know, man. I think it's like 4 months or something.
Yeah, it was like 4 months whenever I was going in. Like that was like the short term. They're like, yeah, it was probably about 4 months, and then they found the other two things that they fixed one in there, and they're like, oh, it might be 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Well,
That's what I was telling about. Like 6 months left. I mean, 4 months left.
yeah.
I was like, I think he's not back for like another 4. I was like, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. It's like one other thing is, like I said, it's a checkup by checkup basis. So
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never had like all of my surgeries, I've had some major ones, but they're not like that where they took a long time to heal. They were major surgeries, but they were like, you bounce back from them really fast. It wasn't a ligament, you know what I'm saying? Like where it's something you were moving.
yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? It was just like had more to do with like I had one on my ears, and like then I had one.
they're major. They're just not like
Yeah.
a major limb,
Right,
It's
and they're
like
not something that like, oh, you have to let it.
There's nothing.
Yeah,
you can
you're
do
like, you
different.
have to let it heal. It's like, yeah, it's healed. You can't do certain things, but like you can go back to work and shit. Like it's,
Yeah.
you just can't do certain things like at the house and stuff.
Yeah, it's like they said that soft tissue. It's weird because everyone talks about it, because I see so many people coming in and out of physical therapy, like full shoulder replacements, knees, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And supposedly, like, soft tissue is like the hardest thing to get right and the easiest thing to mess up.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, like, you put it back together, but it's like muscles atrophy so fast. It's like you've seen athletes pull like a muscle and it like pulls off and like balls up, and then like it'll only be that way for like a few hours. They'll get them into surgery, and then like there's like a month process of stretching that muscle back out and reattaching it. It's like, it's weird how soft tissue's like super responsive to what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, they depend on a lot of what happened. Like there's a certain amount of scar tissue that has to happen for the stability to be in my shoulder. So I'm like, okay. So I literally just have to sit with my thoughts and wait.
Just hold on.
Yep. which is really, really weird. If anyone who has worked with me knows what I do and how much I do, it's
Right.
like, okay, yeah, okay, this guy's gonna sit still. I'm kind of wiry.
Where was the vacation spot at, man? I forgot. Wasn't it Crystal Beach?
No, that was the original spot, and then our Airbnb kind of fell through.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of a weird deal. I'm not really 100% on the details on that. So we had found the house, we'd gotten everything ready for the house, and then even to the point that I'm pretty sure the money was even like in play, and then all of a sudden, like, they canceled on us at like I don't know.
That's
it wasn't
weird.
long. It was like 3 months prior to the 4th of July week.
God damn.
Which
you ain't gonna find nothing there.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys in my group, he happened to be like on a community group page in the area, and he said, "Hey, this just happened. I need a house. I've got 3 families coming down," and like the community actually, like, they didn't chip in, but they everyone put in their 2 cents and directed them to a place and a person to
Really?
at the last second, and we ended up being just a little bit more, but I mean the fact that we got one like 3 months out from the 4th of July weekend
Yeah.
for like 11 days in a row,
Yeah, that's crazy.
was actually nuts. But it ended up being, because of that small relocation, we went to Seadrift is what it's called.
Uh huh.
And it's like 30 minutes from POC, which is Port O'Connor.
Okay.
And that's really we went with a lot of seasoned fishermen, and that's really what we were
Yeah.
going. We're doing a lot of like fishing, like dock fishing.
Right.
We went out on the levee. I saw all kinds of dolphins and jellyfish.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. One night my wife was out on the pier, and I was at home watching the kids, and then one of the other husbands in the group went just because it was after dark and unfamiliar. And he was like, "I'm gonna go and hang out, just in case, like, there's some guys hanging around or anything." I'm like, "Oh, I appreciate that, thank you." Well, one of the guys that was fishing on the pier, he caught a black tip fin shark,
No shit.
threw it back, and then he caught a bigger one, and then he cleaned that one and took it home.
Damn.
Yeah, but like, my wife actually caught the biggest fish on the trip.
No shit.
Yeah, 29-inch red drum.
No kidding.
Yeah, the picture of it, she's literally like just holding this massive fish up, and she's got a grin from ear to ear.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's a 2.5 foot fish, man.
yeah, and she'd never done anything like that. It was big enough she had to use an actual tag. She had to tag the fish.
Oh no shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really cool restaurant down there actually called Sharky's,
Yeah.
and a cool little spin on things. So we had a goal to meet when it came to like the amount of fish we were going to catch, right? So when we hit that goal, we bring the fish with us to the restaurant, and they go, "Oh, well, we just want all this blackened," and everyone got a side to go with it, but like we brought the food to the restaurant,
no shit,
and they cook it
for you.
prepare the food that you caught for you,
Nice. That's cool as hell.
and it was awesome.
Yeah, that's cool as hell.
Yeah,
Cause that's straight out the.
straight out the ocean.
Yeah, that's straight from the Lord, brother.
The
Now
fisher
you
of
get mixed
men.
in there.
Yeah, but it was. I mean, I never experienced anything like that. I can honestly say that is a vacation that'll stick with me for a long time. We chartered a boat. We went out. The girls went out. That was whenever she caught that big fish. They went out in the morning, and they just smoked us like big time. Like they caught so many fish.
Really?
And then when they came back, they took over the kids, and then all the men went out in the afternoon, and I was the only one that didn't catch a keeper.
Ah.
I caught every time I went fishing. That's the weird thing. Every time I went fishing, I caught fish, and none of them were keepers. 'Cause I either caught like trash fish, or they were too small, and I'd throw them back.
So, this is a stupid question. You ever had shark?
Yeah,
It's good, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, it is really good. I like it.
A
A lot of people think it's weird.
it's
Like, I don't find it weird. It's just the fish.
So, the first time I had shark, I was in Puerto Rico, and we were sitting down in the restaurant, and I was a little hungover from the night before, but
Uh-huh.
I had a goal I was gonna just try every new thing that I could possibly try.
Right.
Whenever I'm leaving the country.
Yeah, you might as well give it a whirl.
I tried all the local drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've got this super cool liquor we'll get into here in a second. But, anyways, we're sitting at this restaurant, and I'm just like barely awake, hydrating for the day, right next to the beach. Oh, it's so nice.
Yeah.
It's paradise. And I was like, oh, they have a special on shark.
Yeah.
And it was like a shark wrap. So like it was literally like a fillet of the fin, and it was like grilled up like chicken would be.
Yeah.
And it's all chopped up, and it was in this wrap. And I ate every bit of it, and I can't remember who had made a comment, but they were like, "You sure you want that?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be honest with you. I've always wanted to eat something that eats meat.
Right.
Like, steak's good, but
That's all grass.
Cows eats grass.
Yeah.
Chickens, they're a little carnivorous, but they're dirty.
Yeah.
Well, it's just cool to try something new.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a fun trip. I loved being out there because I don't know because it's a tourist location or what's going on, but like there's a lot of leopard printed or patterned stingrays, and they're like the cats of the ocean.
Really?
They're like super friendly. So like once you get in the water, they'll like swim in between your feet and rub up against your legs. You put your hand out, and you can like pet them. It's interesting.
We went snorkeling, like when we went out of country. We went snorkeling, and they took us to basically like a reef. It was the same thing. They had all these stingrays, and you could swim with them and all this stuff. And then they were like, now there is a barracuda that will show up, but he's friendly. They were like, he's out here all the time. He's very comfortable around people. They were like, so if he shows up, don't lose your mind. He's fine. And then that little fucker showed up, and I was like, if you think I'm staying in the water with that, I was like, hell to the no. I was like, yeah, I was immediately gone. Like, I was back on the boat, and I was like, if he leaves, let me know. But other than that, it's a no for me. Like, because I was thinking, oh, okay, he's friendly and all that. And then he showed up, and I was like, nah, you're crazy. I'm not sticking around for that. The stingrays are cool. That's not cool. Like, it's scary.
Me and my wife both really enjoy like coastal and tropical destinations.
Yeah.
And it's like we're at an even split though, because it seems like we go back and forth. It's either cabin in the mountains somewhere cold or tropical destination.
Right.
One or the other. It's super fun.
Yeah, I don't know which one I'd go. I don't hate the cold, but I'm also not a big sand person.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do.
I have my own split with that too, because when I was younger, I was just like, oh, well, I just go to the tropics all the time. And as I've gotten older, I realized, sometimes being like I say shut in, but like just seeing the scenery and not necessarily like going and doing everything.
Right.
And just like we were in a huge cabin like during Christmas time this last year, and it was one of the highest elevated cabins in Denver.
Right.
Like one of the
Way
top
up there.
one. Like there was literally a warning on it. It said there are bears.
Yeah.
Like-
you can get fucked up, dude.
Yeah.
Get ready.
And when we like on our back patio, like the night we came in, they were like deer, like just chilling on the back, and they were like small, like wimpy Texas deer. They were like,
Yeah, they were the
looked
real
like
deal
they
deer.
would eat
Yeah.
our deer, and I was just like, wow, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And that was a cool deal. But here's the thing, this is a weird catch-22. I like those things, but I keep getting more injuries as I get older, and the cold does not agree with my joints.
I'll tell you, man. Like, I guess if I had to pick up, like, it's either cabin or beach or whatever. If I had to pick some, honestly, like I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know if you call it desert or what you call it, but like that New Mexico terrain where it's
Like
just
tundra.
yeah, like just almost deserty. I love that. Like I really like
not
that.
sand, but dry.
Yeah, just dry, like dry, flat cactus. You know, that kind of
Albuquerque.
Like,
like New Mexico, Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona, that kind of thing. That's the kind of, if I was picking one, that would probably be like, I like the way it looks. I like the way it feels. You know, I like that dry. Like I really that's probably the if I had to pick, that's what the kind of I guess what I would live in. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd probably lock myself into cabin like
in the woods.
Cabin in the woods, or a place where it gets cold. But at the same time, like it's just really the previous injuries that hurt me whenever it's cold. If it wasn't for that, I mean, honestly, like as long as I got a good wood burning stove and I can just keep myself real warm on the inside, it'd be great.
I think that's what I like about the deserty thing, is because you kind of get the best of both worlds. Hotter than shit during the day, but I mean, if you've ever been in the desert at night, man,
it's like 40 degrees.
It's 40 freaking degrees outside. You know, so you kind of get that.
You need to go outside and
just chill, man. Just
look up,
relax,
and usually
look up, and no lights, no.
That's the thing,
yeah.
you know. People don't hang out in the desert, so no light pollution.
Yeah,
you're gonna see
everything. It all. Yeah, and that's right up my alley, man. I like to look up and see stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of, have you seen those pictures yet of the new satellite? I mean, the new telescope they put out there. That James Webb or whatever it's called, the Webb telescope now. Oh, dude,
is it? Wait. Is it comparison from like I think I've seen some of them where they're like there's a picture of Pluto and it was like the first one was like in the 1990s and it's like just a smear, and then it was like it was like 4 photographs, and it's the progression of the imaging is insane now. Like you see so many details.
If there's one thing I nerd out on, dude, I've been looking at these. Like I would look at them every day. Like every time they put new ones out, I'm all over it, man, because that kind of stuff is so freaking cool to me. They have the first image that came back, you know, it just looks like just like stars in the sky, you know what I mean? I mean, obviously it doesn't look just like stars in the sky, but it looks like what you would think a solar system picture would look like, you know? And then they start going into the details of like, all right, take a grain of sand, hold it out at arm's length. That's the amount of sky you're looking at, and it's just...
You're like,
filled.
What?
Yeah, and it's, if you take a grain of sand and pick it up, that's how much sky you're looking at.
You got a pinpoint, like, and at the end of your arm.
So then they've got these scientists and experts, they're on there, and they're like, yeah, this is a galaxy. This is a galaxy, and this is a galaxy, but this is a galaxy that's being pulled in by this, and like, because they're like, dude, it is insane. You're like, wait a minute,
hold on.
And so there's somebody on there that's like, wait a minute, hold on. You're talking about galaxies as in like the Milky Way, like we're our galaxy, and they're like, yeah, all these are us, like, or things like us. You know, they're like, they're galaxies. So this one, and there's literally in this arm's length grain of sand, there's hundreds, and you're like, oh my god, it's so. It kind of freaks me out. Like it freaks me out.
You feel a little small?
Well, it just freaks me out to the point where I'm like, it never ends.
It
never ends.
We are so infinitely unimportant in comparison to
small.
like the grand scheme
We're
of
not
things.
even. I mean, like, there's nothing that we can compare ourselves to because there's nothing that small. Like, there's nothing we can compare ourselves to.
Look, okay, like, here's a perfectly good example of, well, so, you know, we think we're all that in a bag of chips, you know, people. We get big heads. I don't know why we get big heads, but we do. So, if you scale down the entire time that we have been able to measure just on Earth.
Yeah.
And then you put how long humans have existed on that time.
Yeah.
It's 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's 2 seconds.
Out of, like, if you was to scale it to a 24-hour day.
Yeah.
We've been around for 2 seconds.
Man.
And that's just Earth. Like,
yeah,
there's so many other things. So many other things.
So many more.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that, like, I don't know. I nerd out on that stuff really bad because, like, it just freaks me out that we're like.
We're nothing. We're nothing. We're like,
there's no end.
And dust in the wind is an overstatement.
Yes, there's no, and like I said, you can be like, oh well, we're an atom on the toe of a giant. No, we're not. That's too big.
That's still
too big. That's too big.
We're too big. We're like the neuron in the atom. atom.
Yeah, it's just, there's nothing to describe how insignificant we are. Like, and we take ourselves way too seriously.
Yeah.
It's just like, dude, if you sit back and think about where we're at on the universe, on the grand scale of things, what are we doing? Relax, guys.
You talk about people being serious, but you know what's crazy is here, a perfectly good example. About the time most people get their shit figured out, they're about to die.
Yeah.
Like, we're only here for like a mere breath.
80 years,
Like,
if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, 80 freaking years.
Yeah, if an earthquake or a tornado or a car crash or a plane crash or disease doesn't get you, you're lucky you hit 80.
Yeah, and that's what's so crazy, man. Is like, that's what's so crazy to me is like how you can not do what you want to do, or you go and do this.
Everyone's like, oh, I'll just do it next year.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it off.
No, man.
Or there's until next time. Like, there is no next time.
No, that's it.
Like, this is it.
And God, it's just so short, man. And people, like, I don't know. It's crazy to me, man. Like, I mean, there's people that have lived on this planet that you don't even know have lived on this planet because they're gone, and the people that they know are gone, and the people that knew them are gone. And, like, you know, it's crazy to me, man. That stuff freaks me out. It freaks me out, but in a good way.
Here's a cool little tidbit on, like, feeling small, but, you know, also feeling important, right? So there's this number that I have written on my dream board in there because, you know, I'm extra.
Right.
Sometimes. It's 4,094. That's in 4094.
Yeah.
That's what that represents is kind of funny. That is 12 generations of people that had to make it and then get together and then have a kid for you to exist.
Yeah.
So if you track yourself back just 12 generations, that's just the couples that had to happen for you to exist.
Yeah.
That see, whenever you kind of like backtrack it that way, that's just crazy to me too. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of chance involved, but I feel like there's gotta be something.
Yeah.
If it was up to, here's the thing. I know it ain't a person because we fuck everything up.
Yeah.
It's gotta be something a little bit more.
But it's crazy. You're talking about that 4,094 couples had to get together. One girl says, I'm not in the mood, and you're not here.
Yeah.
One girl says, I have a headache.
Yeah, right.
She uses the age-old excuse. I got a headache. You're not here. Does that not blow your mind? That freaks me out.
A little bit.
Freaks me
right.
out. Like, and the fact that we're one, I don't feel like it, headache away from, and think about what you've done. So now you got two little people that now you're in charge of.
I know, right?
They're
It's
not
like,
here.
What?
Your wife may be here.
None of this.
None of
this. Like, this
doesn't
house,
exist.
this shop, this, like.
None of this exists.
Oh, no, it's nuts to me.
It's so crazy, man. It's so crazy. It freaks me out, man. But in a good way.
Yeah,
Freaks me out in a good way.
It reminds me of a joke, actually. I'll probably botch it, but that's fine. But it's like a grandma sitting at a family reunion, and she's just hanging out, and she's looking around, and she starts laughing, and her daughter comes up to her, and she's like, "Everything okay?" She just starts laughing even harder, and she's like, "Are you okay, Grandma?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "What's so funny?" And she's like, "Everyone's here because I got laid."
Yes, it's so true though. It's true.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. That I don't know, man. It's crazy, and like I think about like. So you got two kids. I only have one kid, but I'm like, so you take me, and I was just I look back on my life, I'm like, I'm lucky I got here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Trust me.
Me too. And not only that, but like, I just did so many stupid things, and I was such an idiot. And now I've got like a person, and I'm in charge of that person. I'm like, oh, I'm the leader. Like, that's not good.
What is that?
You never want me to be the leader.
Have you made people yet?
Yeah.
I've made people.
It's like I'm the leader. I'm the leader of the group here, man. I'm the leader of the pack. This ain't no good. Like, this is bad news.
Oh, I knew. So, like, it's crazy you say that. I knew when I was about 7 years old that like sometimes the universe, God, or whatever anybody wants to think, like, they got a plan for you. Because I, like, legitimately, like I grew up with my grandparents, like my cousins were around, but like I didn't have any siblings, you know.
Right.
I was like all adults, kind of got my own way up until like 7, and then I started spending more time around my mother, and then she met my father, and he had a son from a previous marriage as well, and I just remember like they hit it off, and obviously time progressed, and then like next thing I know, like there's this 2.5-year-old kid that's always around. Like, he's 2.5 years younger than me,
Right.
and so he's like 5, and I'm like, and I guess it took about like 6 weeks, and I was like, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, this is permanent.
I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess first it was like, oh, cool, I got a running buddy. And then after a while, I was like, God, I really wish I'd had some alone time. And then when my parents, they kept going, and then they had 3 more kids. And then it was like, my parents worked a lot, but
Yeah.
I was at home all the time, and my dad was always like, hey, you're the boss. If they get in anything, it's on you. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm the leader now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've always, to me, in like the way that I see myself, I've always kind of been a loner by nature, but
Right.
I've never been in from 7 on, I've never been in a situation where I've actually been able to be a loner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, like I said, the universe got bigger plans.
It one of my mom's favorite stories to tell was my brother was born. So my brother's 3.5 years younger than me.
Yeah.
2.5 or 3.5. 3.5, I think. He's 3.5 years younger than me. And it was same thing. Like, my brother shows up. I'm excited as hell. I mean, like, dude, I got a running buddy, man. Like, this is good to go. And so, I mean, my brother's 3 weeks old. He's 2 or 3 weeks old. And I'm like, all right, so let's put him on the swing set. Like, let's do me and him are going to the swing set. My mom's like,
No,
I can't do that right now. And I'm
Not yet.
like, all right, well, fine, no swing set. I understand. Let's hit the sandbox, And she's like, no sandbox either. She's like, we have to let him. And I was like, cool, man. So can I like take him on my bike? Or can I push him in the wagon? And she's like, no, he really doesn't do anything. I was like, she said, I just looked at him and went, all right, take him back. Like, just take him back to the hospital. Like, there's no reason for him to be here.
we don't need him. We don't need him. He doesn't do anything.
There's nothing he does. He lays there, eats, sleeps, and takes a dump. It's time. Just take him back. Like, we got a lemon.
I'm really glad that you grew out of that, Kenneth.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we got a lemon. It's so good. Like, he's nothing.
Oh, but that's 2.5-year-old logic. I have one. Like, she all the time is like, hey, let's do this, and I'm like, your 1-year-old sister does way more than she should already.
Yeah.
Because people were like, oh, they're so smart. I was like, yeah, that's because they bounce ideas off each other and figure it out.
That was cool. That's one thing I always wonder if my daughter, because my daughter has a sister.
Yeah.
Because my ex-wife has a kid with her and her current husband now.
Yeah.
And but they're 10 years apart. So, I mean, you're growing up together, but not really, right? You know what I'm saying? I mean, she's 14. Her sister's 4.
I've dealt with both gaps. It makes sense.
And so one thing I always kind of felt guilty about, because I grew up, me and my brother were 3.5 years apart. We grew up together. Like, we did everything together, and I'm like, man, it really sucks that my daughter missed out on that, because like a lot of my best memories are with my brother, like doing shit with my brother, like it's some of my coolest memories. I'm like, dang, she doesn't have any of those. Like, she doesn't. I mean, she does, but not the ones we have. We're like, we got into shit together.
Oh yeah, y'all are running from stuff together.
Yeah, we're doing stuff together. Like, even as kids, we're like, we're running around the neighborhood doing shit, and like, they were not supposed to be. This neighborhood is right.
Yep, this neighborhood.
Yeah, this neighborhood.
You grew up like 6 houses down. Small world, by the way. That's nuts to me. I still, like, every time I walk by that house.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
I never noticed that one spot where the driveway, like where the sidewalk was, that was just more patio.
Yeah.
And when you're like, I grew up in that house. Me and my dad filled in that flower bed. And I'm just, every time I walk by the house, I'm just like, Kenneth lived there for like 15 years.
Yeah, we lived there a long time. I was oh God, I think I was going into high school when we moved out of the house. because we
It
moved.
was a transfer thing. Yeah.
Yeah, transfer things, like they were just getting bigger, and I mean, it's nothing against the school, man. They wanted to stay a certain size, and so they were like, all right, transfer students got to go because we're growing
Internally.
organically, we're growing,
Yeah.
so like we're growing out here, so the more we have out here, the less transfers can come in, and so they at one point just were like, we didn't ever get the letter, but it was all but said that like next year the transfers are out, because they didn't tell you whether you were in or out till that summer. Like, you didn't know you were in or out till that summer. It's not like they told you a couple of years ahead, like, oh, by the way, it was like you got out of school in May, and then sometime between June and July, you got told whether you were coming back in August. Like, it was just like during those 2 months, they were like, all right, we can accept them or we can't. And it got to a point where they were like, the writing was on the wall where it was like, man, they're getting bigger. Like, and we're going to be the first ones to go.
We got to do something.
So
Y'all moved to the district, right?
Yeah, we moved. My parents moved over into the district.
Where they live now? Huh? What you didn't go to school in West?
No, I went to Bosqueville.
The Bosqueville Bulldogs.
I was a bulldog. Yeah. My parents. The house that they live in now, me and my brother never lived in. The house that they lived in before this one, me and my brother never lived in. No, it was 2 houses before that. They had a house in Bosqueville. And then as soon as we got out of school, there was no reason for them to stay there. I mean, it's not that they didn't like living there. It's just not, where they wanted to live.
They literally just lived there so that
Just so we
kids
could
could
go
go
to school,
where they wanted to school.
And then once we got out of school, they were like, all right, now let's move. And so they it's the same reason. I'm not living in Robinson. Like, I'm not staying there. I got another 4 years.
Yeah, I mean,
I got another 4 and I'm out. Like, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm not going to stay there.
I mean, that's why I'm getting property where I'm getting property.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing against here, but when I went to school and we played this district, I was not impressed by this district. Like, I met the people from this district. And like I said, I'm like, I don't try to pass judgment, but
I went to this district for 6 months.
It was rough, to say the least. But I was
you definitely don't want your kids over here.
No,
definitely not.
It's weird though.
I always wondered that.
It's weird because it's like, it's quiet and it's nice.
It is.
But then, like, the school district is like
fucked.
not like that. I don't understand how that works.
And it's the craziest thing you say that, because I always wonder, and I think I even talked to Colton about it one time, like, not behind your back, but like when you weren't around, I was like, I just don't see his kids going to that school. I was like, he just doesn't seem like that guy that's going to allow his kids to be in that environment.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that.
Oh.
Like, we were in this house, and there was a plan before we even like closed, because I fell in love with this house, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is in our price range. I got a shop. There's so many things that, like, if I can either use it as a workshop or, whatever. I don't want to get caught in the details, but like, I was like, and then I said, what's the school district? We weren't even pregnant yet.
Yeah.
This was like a year and a half before we got pregnant. Lila wasn't even a thing. It was just a thought. We just knew that having a house, trying for kids was the next step. And they were like, oh, you're in this school district. And I looked at Candace and I said, before she's 5, we're gonna have another place.
Yeah, we're on T-5 years right now.
So, like, as soon as we get pregnant, start counting down, because we will have a physical address somewhere else before she goes to school.
Yeah, I like I said, I think it was it might have been either me and Garrett or me and Colton. I can't remember. One of the two groups was talking about, like, it's like, I don't know, man. I just don't see his kids being in that school. I don't see him allowing that, like, being okay with it. Like. But I thought, well, maybe, maybe it's his thing. I don't know. Maybe he wants his kids to grow up rough.
Not that way. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd like to expose them to things so they can grow from, but not that way.
Yeah.
Not that way.
Yeah, it's a tough school district, man, especially out here. It's a little tough. But my parents were the same way. That we were out here, and that's the same reason. We went to that school about 6 months, and my mom and dad were like, no. Like, we got to go. And so that's when we started doing the whole transfer thing, and then eventually moved on. But yeah, we lived in this district, but we didn't live in this district.
We had a weird transfer-ish kind of thing. whenever I was going through high school, junior high and high school.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of Boys Ranch? Mm-hmm. So we got all of the Boys Ranch boys that were good behavior, which is
Real? Oh, out there?
Yeah.
At the school you went to? Really?
yeah. So
That's weird.
So like we had like, and our school was really small.
Yeah, really small.
But we had like anywhere from like 15 to 25, 6 through 12, like boys from the ranch
That's crazy.
that were out there. They played sports with us. They
Right. But they were
went-
just the good behavior kids?
yeah. And then like at the end of the day, a bus would literally run all of them back out there where they lived.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool kids or assholes?
So I mean, just like it's just like any
Anything else?
other
There was some
group.
cool
There
kids?
were some that were assholes, and there were some that were great.
That's cool. That's cool. The school does that.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do it anymore, but they did it then.
Yeah.
But like hearing like, I wouldn't go into detail, but like hearing some of the stories about like how they wound up at a boys' ranch was a little intense, and I was like, oh god.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, there was 2 kids that the place I worked at forever when I was early 20s or late teens. So there was a guy out there, and these 2 guys called him Uncle so-and-so, right? Mm-hmm. One of them was really his nephew. The other one was not his nephew. Not by blood. It wasn't his nephew, but these 2 considered each other brothers, and they were both, like, one of them was his legit nephew, but he grew up in the boys' ranch, and that was his best friend at the boys' ranch. So when they left the boys' ranch, they came and they both lived with him. And hearing their story, I was like, God, you wonder how people like are even sane after some of the stuff they see, like, because these 2, man, when they tell their story, you're like, Jesus Christ, man, what the hell? Like,
So, it's funny you say that. One of the guys he was super into baseball. Whenever I went to school with him, but he was from the ranch, and he had a really intense story that had to do with like all kinds of crime and violence and stuff, like things that he was around or involved in or whatever else. But I ended up being like, he's still friends with me on Facebook, and it's so crazy because of the people that actually like commit to like just changing and being good people. Because he's like involved in the community, like goes to church, has had a stable relationship for like the last 10 years, has a great wife, has kids now, like upstanding citizen. You're just like, oh, that's good. But it's like, it's like
the start was rough.
The humble beginnings of some people are absolutely insane.
And and I'm not bragging. I'm definitely not bragging on myself here, but it's one of the things that I kind of take pride in. Is we've talked about it on this show before. It's one of the things I take pride in is like, I think it's because I've been around those people. Like maybe some people haven't met people like that, but I've been around people like that, and I've heard those stories where I'm like, oh, bro, you're fine. You got it good. Like I didn't went through none of that. Like I didn't see any of that. I didn't go through any of that.
Yeah.
Dude, I literally did none of that. Like I mean, you want to talk about growing up soft, man? Like
you wanted for nothing.
Nothing. Like nothing. And it's great because then you hear that story and it just puts into. I wish more people would understand that like you're not as bad off as you think you are. Like if you think you're that bad off, go listen to that guy talk. Like and what's crazy is he's got a good life compared to somebody else. Like there's some hard luck stories out there.
So I actually have, it's funny you say that. What the hell is in this cup? Anyways, I've got a couple stories that I always keep like in my wheelhouse for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of if you don't actually struggle through anything, you never build the strength and resilience to get through anything.
Yeah.
And so whenever something comes up, you're going to buckle and fold like a fucking snowflake. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. People are like that. Guess what? Grow up and get over it.
Yeah.
You gotta get tough. There's situations I put myself in, and I look back and I'm like, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, you did that.
But at the same time, I'm like, because of my perspective, I look at it and I'm like, I grew from that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be better. And then there's situations that I was just in that I didn't have the the foresight or the ability to like look forward enough to go, I could have avoided this, even though it may not be my circumstances.
Right.
I could have controlled the situation better.
Sure.
But I got to live through this anyways. I'm going to learn from it.
Right.
So, but yeah. Anyways, one of them is you ever heard of the geodome experiments or stuff like that? It's like they made was it Bill and Ted? I don't think it was those guys. Yeah, maybe it was.
Oh, the biodome.
Okay, so you remember like the joke, like the comedy of like the biodome and stuff like that. So they actually tried something like that. So to look forward to like colonizing like Mars or something like that. So you know the biggest issue that they had was the trees. They would grow in these domes, and they would get to about 12 to 15 foot tall, and then they would just fall over. And they couldn't figure out why for a long time, and they would try the experiment again and again and again and again, because you have to have an enclosed nature that's vacuum sealed for you to thrive. Well, these trees kept falling down. They couldn't figure out why. You want to know what it was? There's no wind. So because there was no wind blowing the tree,
to make it stronger,
the root system didn't have to strengthen itself to hold itself up. And so when it got to a certain height, it would just
the weight of it
would just buckle and fall because it had never been through any stress.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And people are the same way.
Yeah.
There was another one about a butterfly. So that one's a super simple one. So like there's a well-established doctor, and he spends his afternoons just chilling on his patio, sipping on something to drink, and just enjoying decompressing after being at work, because doctors have stressful environments that they're in. Well, he sees this caterpillar get up on the branch one day and starts making a cocoon. He's like, oh, well, that's cool. But he kind of watches this process, and then one day he sees the cocoon shake and shake and shake, and he watches it and watches it, and then this goes on for days. And finally he sees the shaking kind of like start dwindling down to where he's worried that this butterfly is not going to be able to bust out of the cocoon to a point to where there's almost nothing. So what he does is he goes in and grabs one of his scalpels from his work bag. Excuse me, indigestion. And he makes just an ever so slight cut on the outside of the cocoon, and the butterfly just bursts out of the cocoon. Well, then he's like, okay, well, I did my good deed for the day, and he goes back to just chilling on the porch, and then he comes back the next day, and then the butterfly's still in the tree. And then he comes back the next day, and the butterfly hasn't moved from the tree. It's still on the tree. And so he eventually gathers up this butterfly, and he takes it to his neighbor, who's a vet. And he's like, I don't know what's going on. And the vet looks at it, and he's like, well, he says, wings seem to be fully developed. There doesn't seem to be any issues. Everything is where it's supposed to be. And then he looks for a while, and he goes, did you do anything while it was trying to come out of the cocoon? And he said, yeah, I ended up just making a small cut in it so that way it could actually get out, because I was worried it was going to suffocate or die. And the vet goes, well, you killed this butterfly. And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? And he goes, the butterfly doesn't have the strength to fly away because it didn't build up the muscles in its wings from busting out of the cocoon.
Oh, nice.
So,
yeah,
that extra coddling, the safety nets, the never really going through it but always going around it because someone's always got your back. Don't get me wrong, it's always good to have community and but sometimes you need to go through some hard circumstances, because if you don't, you're gonna be soft.
Yeah.
Then I mean, not like you need to just be a Billy fucking badass, but
but yeah.
It's like you just gotta be able to process stuff.
And I think it's always funny that well, you even look at it on TV, man. The people that just what I was saying, where I didn't want for anything and all that. It's always those people where you see movie stars' kids and stuff like that they
can't do.
But what's crazy is those are always the ones that you see going to jail, getting in trouble. It's like they don't have any hardships. And it's almost like as a human, you're like, it's like in your DNA that no, I'm supposed to I'm supposed to struggle. Like something's supposed to happen, you know, and you don't know what's supposed to happen, but you're like, I need to get into some shit. You know, like I need to.
You gotta create you have to create an environment,
a scenario.
Some stress. You gotta make some stress for yourself. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I love is like, for Macaulay Culkin is a perfectly good example, right? So, child superstar.
His Rogan podcast is so good, by the way.
Is it?
Fuck yeah.
Oh, I better check it out after this.
Yeah.
And then after that, he gets like super fucking. He gets hung up on drugs. Sorry, I'm using the F word a lot. I don't know why, but he gets hung up.
Sorry, Pam.
Yeah, he gets hung up on drugs, and he's strung out and everything else. And then like by the end of that same decade, he's clean, he's sober, he's got like 20, 30 pounds on him. He looks good, he looks healthy. So he didn't have hard times starting. But then he created circumstances where he had a lot of things he had to deal with, psychologically, spiritually, substance abuse, you name it. I'm sure he was terrible with money because he had never gone without money. Yeah. And then he probably blew it, if I was to guess. He'd never had any other issues, or, he'd already experienced all the highs that you could do sober, so that's probably why he got into drugs. But he dealt with all that stuff, created a bad circumstance, and then he mentally got tough enough to get over all those things, and now from what I can tell is upstanding citizen. So
good dude.
You got it. There's everyone, some people get their own enlightenment, some people have to create their own enlightenment, I guess, but it's just cool how that stuff works sometimes.
Like I said, that he's got me. This episode's so good. It's really good.
Gotta watch it. Watch it.
Yeah, that dude's got a story for sure.
Does he?
Yeah, all the way from what you're talking about to like his drug use and stuff like that to even like his parents are pretty rough, and like, he didn't want for anything, but man, his parents they like stole his money, and like, yeah, it's bad. But he's a cool guy now,
Yeah.
He got over it. Which is, I guess, what you're looking for, man. That's if you don't have that struggle and you go out looking for it, you're just hoping you can get over it, because it don't always work out that way.
No, it's true. Well, it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Right?
Yeah, or it kills you.
Or it kills you. Or it kills you. It says, what doesn't kill you? If it doesn't,
well, that's about it, man. We're there.
Is it?
Take long, did it?
Is it really?
Yeah. We're sitting at 48 minutes right now. We usually go 55, so we're 7 minutes. We're 7 minutes away.
7 minutes away.
Yeah. Which, like I said, we don't need to go 7 more minutes. I think this is a pretty good jumping off point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. Well, another one in the books.
There you go.
We should be. We're getting pretty close to halfway through a year for this show.
For this one?
Yeah. I think this is number 20 or 21. We need to get to 26 to be halfway.
We are getting close.
Yeah, we're almost half a year. The other one's over half a year. Yep.
That's awesome.
Pretty crazy, huh?
That is pretty crazy.
It doesn't seem like we've been doing it that long.
No.
Because me and Colton didn't do that many before you. We only did maybe, 4?
I think I was on episode like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Like a month.
Yeah. It's like episode 4 or 5. That's when you came on to this one. So like I said, we're getting close to half a year.
We should still redo that episode at some point.
We need to.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, actually, you know what? We can do it this week if you wanted to.
We sure can.
Yeah, let's do that.
I mean, I'm in a good headspace to do it too.
Let's do that. We'll do it this week.
All right.
All right. Later, man.
All right.